I'm in the early stages of giving this BSA A7 a little bit of a going over, and generally to knock it into shape for the coming riding season for its owner. I have had it running already. It started quite easily actually. I didn't film that, but it started quite easily and it sounds good. But I noticed that when I turned the fuel on, fuel squirted out the carburettor, which had obviously been more or less empty, I would say, because there was hardly any fuel in a tank to speak of, just a dribble. But the float here, whether I can demonstrate it with the camera, is actually just fouling on the boss, the bottom screw hole for the float chamber cover. It's just very lightly picking up, jamming on it, and if it gets stuck down like that, you turn the fuel on, it won't rise up, it won't float up. So I'm going to get that out, and I'm just going to try and possibly file or use some emery or something, and it's just a little, the tiniest skim needs to come off the outer sort of face of that screw boss, and then the float should be able to drop past it and rise up. If it goes down that far, it should be able to float up past it. So I'm just going to take care of that, and then I'll probably have it running again and maybe get some video footage. But I was very pleasantly surprised how nice the engine sounded, so that's a good start. Right, well, job done. I used this little flat file here and just sort of eased down the lower screw boss. Only needed, you know, a light rubbing really, and here's the float going back in. We'll try that now. That's dropping all the way down and picking up freely. It's not jamming there like it did before, so that'll be able to float up when the fuel comes in. That'll float up and shut the fuel off when it reaches its level. So that was a worthwhile couple of minutes work. I'm running the engine of this BSA A7 here. I've been locking horns with the wiring and the charging system. It's an absolute mess. But I just want to confirm, and I have confirmed, that at least I'm now getting something from the dynamo. It had a brush that was jammed, so I cleaned that up, freed it off. That's a 12-volt bulb, by the way. That's coming direct out the dynamo. Which we can probably see there. Wiring is an absolute mess. I'll have to go over that, but at least I know there's life coming out of the dynamo now, so it's worth pursuing. Got little stalk switches all over the place. The lower one isolates the battery from the dynamo and the charging system. That one kills the sparks. Switch it back on, because otherwise I'll forget about that and come and try and kick-start it next time and probably get nothing. So that's where I'm leaving that for the weekend. It's running nice enough. I've got life coming out the dynamo, so it's just a matter of putting it through the right channels and getting it to power all the electricals. Even the lights have been working. It's just a matter of somehow getting the dynamo hooked up to a decent battery. Even the battery's not really any good on there, and tidy up well, that rat's nest, and we could possibly be in business quite soon. That's where we leave it for the weekend, I think. Right, I've got this BSA A7 charging now. I've had a look at the regulator and cleaned up the contacts, checked the connections and that the wiring actually, although it is in a mess, the correct things are connected the correct way. And we've got charged now. So I'll get myself a battery. This is one I've borrowed off the Tiger Cub. The battery that was on this machine has absolutely had it. So I get another battery and I'm going to tidy up the wiring and sort out some connections here and there. This lot's bad, but it is all working. So I'm going to tidy that lot up. And the main loom is actually not too bad, where it sort of disappears under the tank and comes out the other end. So I'll tidy that up a bit, but pretty much everything is working, so that's good news. Right, well, as we've already seen, I've been working on this late BSA A7 500 twin, and I've got it to a point where I'm ready to take it out for a short road test now. It's a sort of bike, it's in that sort of condition that I like to find them, actually. Not too sort of molested, and certainly not restored as such in any way, although obviously it's had replacement bits and bits tidied up over the years, I suppose, like a paint job and whatever. But the I'd hazard a guess that the engine and gearbox etc are probably pretty unmolested, or certainly haven't been touched in quite some time, and it runs really nicely. All I've done with it is I've checked and adjusted the valve clearances. I've gone through the carburettor jets and cleaned them out because they were a bit gooed up. I've adjusted the primary chain, which was very slack, and then consequently the rear chain then became slack, so I've adjusted that. I fitted new brake shoes in the front drum and a new cable, because the cable that was on it wasn't really quite long enough. My main job with it was to sort out the electrics. So the guy who owns it said that he wanted me to rewire it. Well, what I've done, although the wiring looked an absolute appalling mess, a lot of it, especially the area under the tank and between the headlamp and under the seat area, was all in quite good shape. It just wanted cleaning up and re-taping up again. So what I did, rather than get a new loom, which would probably have to be cut and altered anyway to suit the various non-standard bits that are dotted about on this thing, I kept the main bulk of the wiring and just tidied it up and got rid of all sorts of terrible connections and excess bits of wire that weren't really needed, that were joined in and twisted together and so on. I put a new battery on it. I attended to a jammed brush in a dynamo, that got that charging, and everything's working now. All the lights are working, it's running nicely, so it really is time to go and have a ride on it, I guess. And with that in mind, I'll just have a quick look at the other side of it as well. I'll go and get myself ready now, get my biker jeans on and jacket and helmet and stuff, and we'll go for a short run. I think we'll probably go up the road out the village and do Bantam Hill back down into Llansadwrn in the next village, and then drop down to the main road and come back along that. That should do for this one. It's a bit grey and not misty, but we're not going to get fantastic views from up the top today, I don't think. But anyway, let's go and test this bike and see how it goes. Okay, let's go. I've already run the engine today, so I'm sure it'll start easily. Got the lights on as well. Pretty sure it's charging well now, but even if it wasn't, it wouldn't affect the sparks. That's the nice thing about these machines that have separate magnetos and dynamos, or separate magnetos and alternators in some cases.
You've got two systems totally independent of each other. Right. murky up here. Just going to wipe the camera lens quickly, I hope. As you guys can all see, I'll wipe the camera lens here, but we got quite a lot of drizzly rain about up here. This bike goes really well, much more lively than I was expecting actually. Carry on. Make ourselves a bit of space, I think. Well, no panoramic views today, thanks to the fog, and no dog, but we did see a refuse truck, which is quite a rare sight these days around here. Couple more cars. That stand is an absolute pig. I'm just going to turn that tick over down as well. Oh, we're still lit up. That's better. Not bad. In fact, it went very well. I see we've got a slight oil leak there. Nothing much. A little bit there. Little fins. Should we try a hot start if we're still filming? I think we are at the moment. Let's see. Nothing wrong with that magneto for a hot start. This is a great bike. I could live with something like this. That goes really nicely. Much more lively than I expected. Hasn't got the kick in the pants obviously that the 650s have got, but once it gets on the cam it really wakes up and it gets going much more rapidly than I was expecting actually, because I've ridden one or two others, and yeah, I like this. The brakes are pretty good. You get what you give. You've got to be quite assertive and firm with them. The front one will probably bed in because it's got brand new shoes in it, but they're certainly adequate at the very least, I would say. So yeah, another one I think probably ready to go home, and a nice bike really. some of its slightly scruffy looks sort of belie how good it really is.